They whisper about you not because they know you, but because they can't predict you. There's a certain kind of brilliance that doesn't sparkle. It stings. The kind that doesn't seek validation, but silently reshapes the room. Lately, the gossip mill's working overtime. Your name echoing through conversations like a riddle everyone's trying to solve. They're too smart, they mutter. Don't mess with that one. And they're right. Not out of fear, but out of respect earned through quiet precision. You see, intelligence like yours doesn't wear a suit and announce itself at the door. It walks in unbothered and rearranges the energy without saying a word. People notice, not because you talk too much, but because you understand too deeply. You make others feel like open books standing before a mind that's already read the ending. In a world addicted to surface impressions, your depth is scandalous. You're not playing hard to get. You're just hard to fool. That alone turns curiosity into obsession. It's not arrogance. It's the calm of someone who's decoded too many hidden intentions to be easily impressed. And the funny thing? Half the people gossiping about you would still ask for your advice in private, pretending they just ran into you, because even your silence carries answers they can't Google. So yes, chosen one. The current gossip is true. You are highly intelligent, and they've learned the hard way. You're not the one to play with. Number 1, your intelligence isn't polished. It's piercing. People often expect intelligence to come wrapped in fancy words, calm tones, and the kind of politeness that makes everyone comfortable. Yours doesn't. Your intelligence doesn't walk in trying to be liked. It walks in dissecting what's real and what's fake. It doesn't need a spotlight. It creates one just by existing. You don't try to sound smart. You just see things others overlook. And that kind of awareness can feel threatening to people who survive on pretending. You have a way of cutting through appearances. When someone speaks, you don't just hear their words. You catch their contradictions, the motives they hide behind smiles, the inconsistencies they thought nobody would notice. It's not something you do on purpose. It's how your mind naturally works. You've trained yourself to see beyond tone and charm, beyond surface logic. And it's why some people can't stay comfortable around you. They sense that you could expose them without even trying. Most people confuse intelligence with knowledge. How much someone knows, how many facts they can repeat. But yours comes from perception. You don't just store information, you read patterns. You spot cycles, notice energy shifts, and catch emotional codes others miss completely. When someone's lying, you don't need proof. You just feel the fracture in their story. And it's not paranoia, it's precision. That's why you can't be manipulated for long. Even when you play along, your mind is already mapping the truth underneath their act. You don't fight to win arguments. You quietly wait until falsehood collapses under its own weight. Your intelligence doesn't shout, it slices. It's raw, intuitive, and sometimes even uncomfortable because it sees too much. And that's the secret behind their whispers. They're not gossiping because you're strange. They're gossiping because your clarity leaves no hiding place. You're the reminder that not every sharp mind needs polish. Some were born to pierce through illusions and never apologize for the light they carry. Number 2, you don't outsmart people, you outsee them. Your intelligence doesn't come from trying to prove anything. It comes from seeing what others ignore. You don't rely on showing off how clever you are or throwing big words around. What makes you different is your vision. You read between the lines, catch what's missing, and sense the truth hiding beneath appearances. People can fake kindness, confidence, or vulnerability, but they can't fake their energy. You notice it before they even finish speaking. You don't study people to manipulate them. You observe them to understand the landscape you're walking through. While most are distracted by surface charm, you catch the rhythm underneath. How someone's eyes shift when they lie. How their voice tightens when they're insecure. how their energy flickers when they're pretending to care. It's not that you're suspicious, it's that you've learned the hard way that what people show is rarely who they are. That kind of awareness gives you an advantage that can't be taught. You don't need to outthink anyone because your mind operates on a different level. You don't argue, you anticipate. You don't compete, you predict. And because of that, people often feel disarmed around you, like they can't hide their real selves no matter how carefully they try. That's not intimidation. It's the quiet discomfort of being seen too clearly. Your intelligence doesn't chase control. It creates clarity. You know that real understanding isn't about being the smartest in the room, but about seeing the full picture when others only notice fragments. That's why you rarely react on impulse. You already know where things are heading. You've learned that most situations reveal themselves if you simply pay attention long enough. You don't outsmart people because you don't need to. Outsmarting is for those still playing games. You, on the other hand, have moved beyond that. You see the truth before the story finishes, and that's what unsettles them. Your power isn't in knowing more, it's in seeing deeper. And in a world addicted to illusions, that makes you unforgettable. Number 3, your calm is misread as calculation. People often mistake your calm for something it isn't. They see your quiet demeanor, the way you take your time before responding, and they assume you're plotting, scheming, or playing some elaborate game. The truth is far simpler. You've learned to think before you act, to measure your energy, and to never give chaos the satisfaction of controlling you. Your calm isn't a tactic. It's a reflection of how much you understand the world and yourself. You've noticed how easily people let emotions drive their decisions, how quickly they overreact to small provocations. While they're scrambling, you're observing, weighing, and understanding. That difference makes you seem unshakable, and that unshakability makes others uneasy. They expect everyone to rise to their level of noise and drama, but you don't play by that rule book. Your patience and composure create a quiet power that's impossible to fake. Because of your calm, people tend to reveal themselves around you. When someone is impulsive, they act first and regret later. You, however, have learned that observation and restraint often reveal more than reaction ever could. Your silence carries weight, not because it threatens them, but because it shows that you're not hurried, pressured, or vulnerable to their games. You see everything, but you don't need to prove anything. Your calm also gives you clarity. In a world full of noise, your ability to pause, process, and act deliberately separates you from the rest. People often try to provoke you, thinking your quietness is weakness, but it's far from it. Every decision you make, every word you speak, comes from a place of understanding rather than impulse. That's why your presence unsettles those who thrive on chaos. They can't predict you, and they can't rush you. What others misread as calculation is really mastery. You've learned that the mind is sharper when it's calm, that influence is greater when it isn't forced, and that power often hides in silence. Your calm isn't a strategy, it's a way of life. And in a world addicted to noise, that makes you impossible to ignore. Number 4, you disarm without trying. Your presence doesn't announce itself, it simply exists. And that existence changes everything around it. You don't need to compete for attention or assert authority. People naturally respond to your energy. Rooms quiet when you enter, not because you demand it, but because your awareness subtly shifts the atmosphere. You carry a kind of confidence that isn't loud, isn't flashy, and doesn't need validation. It's steady, unshakable, and deeply magnetic. What's extraordinary is that those who rely on intimidation, aggression, or performance as their tools of control suddenly feel out of place around you. They expect resistance, competition, or a reaction, but there's none. You absorb their energy without effort, neutralizing their attempts to dominate. The stronger they push, the more they reveal their own insecurities, while you remain untethered, calm, and unbothered. Your energy doesn't fight theirs. It transforms it, often leaving them shrinking, unsure, and unexpectedly respectful. You disarm not with words, clever tactics, or manipulation, but with the authenticity of your presence. People sense immediately that you don't need to compete to be recognized. They feel the difference between forcing respect and naturally commanding it, and they can't help but notice. There's a subtle authority in someone who doesn't bend to external pressures, someone whose inner alignment is unshakable. That power makes interactions effortless. You don't exhaust yourself proving your worth. The room recognizes it on its own. People who thought they were in control quickly realize they're not. And your calm, steady energy becomes the silent ruler of the space. You teach without teaching, lead without leading, and influence without speaking volumes. It's not manipulation. It's a state of being that shifts everything and everyone around you. You don't have to try because your presence already does the work. You disarm, command, and redefine the space simply by showing up, and that is far more powerful than anything anyone else could ever force. Number 5, you make complexity look effortless. The world tends to judge by appearances, and when you handle complicated situations with calm and precision, people often mistake it for arrogance. They see the ease with which you navigate challenges, untangle problems, and make decisions that seem impossible, and they assume you've never struggled. What they don't see is the storm behind that mastery, the countless hours, the hard lessons, the mistakes that left scars, and the relentless discipline that built your clarity. What looks effortless is actually the result of surviving chaos and coming out sharper every time. You've learned how to absorb pressure without letting it show. While others panic, overthink, or fracture under stress, you find the pattern, identify the solution, and act with quiet confidence. That kind of skill doesn't come from luck or natural talent alone. It comes from living through situations most people would crumble under. You understand the layers beneath every problem, and your mind works on levels that most won't even notice until it's too late. People often misinterpret your composure. They think you're untouchable, or that life has been easy for you, when the truth is the opposite. You've been in the fire, felt the chaos, and walked away stronger. That's why your actions seem so clean, so simple, so deliberate. They don't realize the battles fought in silence, the strategy behind every choice, and the depth of observation that guides every step. Your ability to make the difficult appear simple is more than skill. It's authority. It creates respect, envy, and sometimes unease, because most people can't replicate what you've endured. They see the result without understanding the process, and that gap between perception and reality makes your presence unforgettable. You don't just solve problems, you transform them into something manageable, and you do it with a calm that unsettles those who struggle to keep up. The truth is clear. Complexity is nothing to you because you've already survived its worst, and what looks effortless is simply the natural expression of a mind that has mastered the storm. Number 6, you don't argue, you observe the collapse. Most people see debate as a battleground, a place to prove themselves right, to dominate with words or to force agreement. You don't. You've learned that true intelligence doesn't need to shout, defend, or persuade. It waits. You watch, you listen, you observe. And in that quiet observation, you notice what others miss, the cracks in their logic, the contradictions in their story, the insecurity behind their aggression. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't respond in kind. You don't meet noise with noise or ego with ego. Instead, you allow their own flaws to surface naturally. Their arguments unravel because they've built them on assumptions, ego, and half-truths, and you don't need to point it out. Their collapse is inevitable, and your silence ensures it's undeniable. The more they push, the more they expose themselves, and the more obvious it becomes that defending lies is a futile effort. You've realized that truth doesn't require armor. Lies demand defense. Truth survives scrutiny effortlessly. That's why you never feel the need to fight for your position. You don't argue to be right. You simply let time, logic, and your unshakable clarity do the work. The world has a way of exposing falsehoods on its own, and you've learned to trust that process. While others exhaust themselves trying to convince, manipulate, or dominate, you remain calm, untouchable, and patient. This approach makes you unnervingly powerful. People who try to provoke you often leave frustrated, not realizing that the battle was never yours to fight. Your presence, composed and discerning, quietly demonstrates that attempting to deceive or manipulate someone who sees clearly is futile. You don't argue, you observe. And in observing, you let the truth do what it does best. It endures, while the falsehood crumbles under its own weight. That patience, that clarity, that ability to stand unmoved as others dismantle themselves is a power few can comprehend, but everyone notices. Number 7, you understand power is subtle. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. It simply is. You've come to understand that the loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control. True influence lives in restraint, in the ability to choose when to act, when to speak, and when to walk away completely. You don't chase authority because you already carry it within you. Your confidence isn't built on attention or recognition. It's built on knowing who you are and never needing to prove it. You've seen how people equate noise with strength, how they perform dominance, exaggerate importance, and call it power. But what they call power, you see as insecurity dressed up in volume. You don't need to dominate anyone to stand tall. You simply remain composed, deliberate, and precise. While others fight to be heard, your silence becomes the loudest statement in the room. Your timing is another weapon. You don't rush to respond or react because you understand that impulsive people lose control the moment they reveal their emotions. You've mastered the art of pause, the ability to assess everything before making your move. That patience gives you an edge that others can't replicate. You don't need to manipulate. Your control over yourself naturally gives you control over the situation. Power for you isn't about hierarchy or ego. It's about awareness, self-command, and emotional intelligence. You know that people who can't control their impulses end up being controlled by them. That's why you don't feed chaos. You let it burn itself out. You understand that silence can say more than 1,000 explanations, and that sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. While others seek validation, you stay anchored in purpose. You know your value doesn't shrink or expand based on who recognizes it. You don't enter competitions that were never meant for you. You set the tone and let others adjust. Your power is subtle, steady, and undeniable, and that's what makes it impossible to challenge. Number 8, you're not mysterious. You're private by design. People love to label what they don't understand. When they can't read you, they call you mysterious, as if your silence or privacy is a strategy to seem interesting. But that's not what's happening. You're not trying to be mysterious. You're protecting your peace. You've simply learned that too much access invites misunderstanding, entitlement, and misuse. You value your energy too much to hand it out freely. Your privacy isn't a wall, it's wisdom. You've watched what happens when people overshare. The more you give away, the more people assume they know you, and the more they feel entitled to your space. You've seen how familiarity can breed disrespect. So you stopped explaining yourself. You stopped advertising your plans. You realized that people can't ruin what they don't have access to. That's not secrecy, it's self-respect. Your boundaries are intentional. You don't speak on everything you're doing because not everyone deserves to witness your process. You don't chase validation because you've seen how quickly admiration turns into envy once success starts to show. You've learned that when you move quietly, you stay in control, not of others but of yourself. Your silence keeps your focus sharp and your direction protected. People who depend on attention to feel alive won't understand your peace. They'll call you distant, detached, or difficult, not realizing that privacy is your form of self-preservation. You're not hiding. You're curating. You share what's necessary, not everything available. You understand that your life doesn't need to be public to be powerful. The truth is, your privacy unsettles people because it removes their sense of predictability. They can't place you in a box or anticipate your next move, and that bothers them. But that's exactly why your presence holds weight. You're not easily accessible, and in a world that overshares everything, that makes you magnetic. You're not mysterious at all. You're simply someone who knows that peace is priceless, and access, once given, can never be fully taken back. Number 9, you make confidence look dangerous. The confidence you carry isn't performative. It isn't the loud, flashy type that demands attention or approval. It's quieter, deeper, and far more unsettling because it comes from experience, not ego. You've seen enough of the world to know what matters and what doesn't, and that clarity gives your presence a weight others can't ignore. People sense it immediately. There's no need for explanations, no need for validation. You simply exist, and your assurance makes them aware of their own limitations. What makes your confidence dangerous isn't arrogance, it's inevitability. You don't seek to impress or dominate. You simply operate from a place of inner alignment, knowing your worth without needing to justify it. That kind of quiet certainty can make others uneasy because it exposes their insecurity. When you walk into a room, you're not competing, you're setting a standard. You make others realize how much energy they waste chasing recognition, while you move through life anchored in self-belief. Your confidence is grounded in truth. You've faced setbacks, observed deception, and survived situations that would have shaken most people. Instead of letting these experiences make you bitter or loud, they've honed your perspective. You understand that being unshakable is more powerful than being loud, and that restraint is often more commanding than assertion. That's why people instinctively respect you, and why some even fear crossing you. They recognize that you're not easily moved, and that your certainty can't be manipulated. You make confidence look effortless because it is effortless for you. It's not learned from books or advice, it's forged from reality. Others may try to imitate it, but the depth of your assurance can't be copied. You don't just radiate self-belief. You make it feel tangible, almost contagious. And that's what gives it its quiet, dangerous power. Your confidence doesn't ask permission to exist. It simply claims space, and in a world full of pretension that makes you unforgettable. Number 10, you don't seek revenge. You outgrow the battlefield. Most people think power comes from retaliation, from proving a point, or from showing someone that they've been wronged. You don't operate that way. You've realized that true strength isn't in reacting, it's in rising above. When people plot against you, their efforts don't ignite anger in you. They become part of the fuel that drives your evolution. Instead of staying in their trap, you move past it, quietly leaving them behind while your life grows in ways they can't touch or control. You've learned that revenge is for those still tied to outcomes, still seeking validation from others' perceptions. You don't need to prove them wrong because your progress does it naturally. Every step you take forward is a testament to your resilience and intelligence. While they focus on undermining you, you focus on expanding your reality. Your growth becomes a mirror that reflects their own pettiness, and that reflection is far more devastating than any words or actions could ever be. People expect confrontation, drama, or an emotional reaction, but you refuse to perform. You give them something far more humiliating, your indifference. You don't need to fight to win because you've already transcended the battlefield. By the time they realize the war existed, you're already miles ahead, thriving and untouchable. Your energy no longer belongs to their chaos. It belongs entirely to your vision, your purpose, and your progress. This approach unsettles them even more than retaliation would. They've invested effort into controlling or harming you, only to discover that their actions are irrelevant. You don't just survive adversity, you transform it into growth, power, and momentum. You make the act of rising above a statement in itself louder and more undeniable than any argument or confrontation could ever be. You don't seek revenge because you know that the highest form of victory is not proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right, continuously, silently, and in ways they can neither touch nor undo. Your evolution is your ultimate weapon. Number 11, you're not cold, you're correct. At some point you stopped confusing chaos for passion and inconsistency for care. You realized that love, friendship, and loyalty mean nothing if they cost you your peace. That awakening changed how you move, and suddenly people began calling you cold. They say you've changed, that you've hardened. But what really happened is you finally learned to tell the difference between what feels good and what's actually good for you. You stopped entertaining what drains you, and to those who benefited from your confusion, that shift feels like punishment. You're not distant, you're disciplined. You've learned that constant forgiveness isn't love, it's self-neglect. You no longer chase closure or prove your worth to people who only valued your softness when it served them. You understand now that boundaries don't make you unkind, they make you sane. The world glorifies endless giving and emotional exposure, but you've seen how that story ends, in exhaustion, resentment, and silence. So you chose differently. You chose balance, truth, and accountability over being liked. People who are still addicted to dysfunction can't handle that kind of clarity. They label it coldness because it challenges their illusions. When you stop tolerating manipulation or inconsistency, you take away their power. When you stop reacting emotionally, you remove their control. What they call cold is simply emotional intelligence, the kind that refuses to mistake pain for loyalty or chaos for depth. You've outgrown the need to rescue people who refuse to heal. You no longer romanticize struggle or bond through shared wounds. Your peace became the standard, and not everyone can rise to meet it. That's why they call you cold. It's easier to label your growth than to face their own stagnation. But you know better. You know that detachment isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You're not cold, you're correct. You finally see things for what they are, and that kind of honesty doesn't need to be defended. It simply stands, unwavering, while everything false falls away. Number 12. You see motives before faces. You've reached a level of awareness where words mean very little to you. You don't just listen, you read. Every tone, every pause, every choice of phrase reveals more than the person speaking intends to show. You've developed what can only be called emotional X-ray vision. You don't see people for who they pretend to be. You see the energy they carry, the intent they try to hide, and the emotional fingerprints they leave behind. That kind of perception can't be faked or taught. It's earned through observation, pain, and experience. You've been lied to enough to recognize patterns. You've seen manipulation dressed up as concern, interest that was really control, and kindness that came with strings attached. Over time, your intuition sharpened into a quiet, relentless truth detector. Now you can sense when someone's words don't match their vibration, when their eyes flicker at the wrong moment, or when their interest has more to do with your potential than your person. That ability unsettles people who rely on deception to get what they want. They feel exposed around you, even if you haven't said a word. Your presence alone makes them second-guess their act, because deep down, they sense that you already see through it. You don't need confrontation or proof. You simply know. It's in the way you tilt your head slightly when something doesn't add up, in the stillness you maintain when others would react. It's not suspicion, it's clarity. Your intuition doesn't just protect you, it guides you. You can sense who's genuine and who's opportunistic before anyone else notices. You've stopped ignoring red flags because you've learned that intuition isn't paranoia, it's intelligence in its rawest form. And that's why manipulative people can't stand you. Their tricks lose power in your presence because you dismantle them without effort, often without even speaking. You see motives before faces, and that vision has become your armor. You no longer chase truth. It reveals itself to you every single time. Number 13. You don't need to be understood. You need to be unbothered. You've stopped trying to explain yourself to those who aren't capable of listening. The world wants everything simplified, packaged, and digestible, but your energy doesn't fit in a box. You've realized that seeking understanding from everyone is a wasted effort, a way to drain your own power. You don't owe anyone clarity about your focus, your boundaries, or the quiet intensity that drives your life. You've chosen something far stronger, to remain unbothered. Silence, detachment, and focus aren't shortcomings. They're your tools. They aren't meant to be interpreted by people addicted to drama or noise. You no longer feel the need to justify your decisions or decode your presence for the comfort of others. You've learned that some minds are too cluttered to comprehend discipline, vision, or emotional intelligence. And that's fine. Alignment, not understanding, is what matters. Those who belong in your circle will get it naturally. The rest are irrelevant. You've seen how people try to pull others into their chaos simply because they can't tolerate calm or independence. You've also seen how easily they misread quiet for weakness. That used to matter. Not anymore. Now, you protect your energy by remaining steady, by not reacting to provocation, by not performing for approval. You've embraced the fact that your peace is non-negotiable, and it's far more powerful to maintain it than to convince others of its value. Being unbothered isn't detachment from life. It's mastery over your own experience. You move with clarity, purpose, and focus, unaffected by opinions, assumptions, or gossip. You've made peace with the fact that not everyone will see your reasoning, and that's a relief, not a problem. You don't need to be understood. You need to be unbothered. That is the kind of strength that turns presence into power and quiet into authority. Number 14. You became the test, not the lesson. You stopped trying to teach people how to treat you. You realized that those who truly see you won't need instructions, and those who don't will never learn, no matter how much you explain. Now, when people cross your path, you don't correct or convince them. You let them reveal themselves. Your presence has become a mirror. Those who are genuine feel seen. Those who are pretending feel exposed. You no longer have to speak to show truth. Your energy does that for you. People often approach you thinking they'll figure you out, decode you, or use you as a project to feed their curiosity or ego. But you're not a puzzle. You're a filter. Your energy sorts the real from the fake without effort. Around you, masks slip, intentions surface. What's hidden becomes obvious. It's not because you're trying to test anyone. It's because authenticity naturally disarms everything false. The truth can't hide where it isn't needed. That's what unsettles people who are used to performing. They come in confident, rehearsed, and polished. But your calm, grounded energy strips away all the performance. Suddenly, they're faced with themselves, their motives, their inconsistencies, their unhealed parts. They project, they deflect, they blame. But deep down, they know it's not you exposing them. It's their own reflection responding to your clarity. For the genuine, it's the opposite. They feel inspired around you, safe, seen without pretense, because your presence doesn't judge, it reveals. You don't demand authenticity, you embody it. And that embodiment naturally invites others to rise to the same standard or walk away. You became the test not by effort, but by evolution. You stopped explaining, started existing, and in doing so, became the quiet measurement of who people really are. The ones who pass don't need to say a word. The ones who fail, they tell on themselves before the conversation even begins. Conclusion. You are not just someone moving through life, you are a force, a presence that doesn't ask for attention but commands it simply by being. Every quiet choice, every measured step, every moment of observation has built a persona that people can't ignore. You don't need to compete, to perform, or to justify yourself. Your intelligence, your clarity, your composure, and your insight are already reshaping the spaces and the people around you. You've learned to see through facades, to understand motives before faces, and to let truth do what it does best, outlast and expose what is false. You've evolved to the point where silence is louder than words, restraint stronger than action, and growth the most devastating form of retaliation. You disarm without trying, make complexity look effortless, and embody power without chasing it. You are private by design, unbothered by misunderstanding, and confident without proving a single thing. Your presence is a mirror, revealing who people truly are, and your energy tests authenticity while inspiring those capable of rising to your level. You've stopped romanticizing dysfunction, you've stopped reacting to chaos, and you've stopped giving validation to those unworthy of it. What remains is clarity, mastery, and a presence that unsettles the shallow and uplifts the real. This is what it means to be the chosen one, the one whose intellect, discipline, and emotional acuity have transformed ordinary existence into an extraordinary experience. You no longer exist for the approval of others. You exist to live fully, powerfully, and with a precision that only those truly awake can appreciate. You've become the standard, the quiet ruler of your own reality, and the undeniable truth that the world can neither shape nor contain. If this message resonates with you, if you recognize even a part of yourself in this energy, then don't just take it in, let it elevate you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay connected with content that sharpens your mind, strengthens your presence, and empowers your journey. Like this video if it hit hard, leave a comment with your thoughts or experiences, and share it with those who need to feel this energy as well. You've already stepped into a new level of awareness. Now let's rise even higher together. Stay blessed always.